The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, everyone. Well, I guess afternoon for you guys on the East Coast. Thanks so much for joining us today. We are super excited about our partnership with Vish and that their color management system is now integrated with Shortcuts. And today we have Tim from Vish, who is going to be presenting for us pricing for profits. So I'll go ahead and hand over to Tim, and then we're going to go ahead and get started in just a moment here. All right,
Hi, everyone.
Tim, all
And
you.
let me know when you're ready to go. All ready to go?
All ready to go.
Okay, great. Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me on your webinar today. And as mentioned, my name is Tim Howard. My official title is Chief Innovation Officer with Vish. Vish is actually a concept, and was an idea that I had over 10 years ago from being a salon owner, working in the industry as an educator and as a consultant for many, many years. I had the insight into my own salon and some of the things that I knew weren't running the way that they should. And then also having that opportunity to I worked for Aveda, Estee Lauder for about 16 years, traveling for them, meeting with salon owners, hairdressers, doing shows, people in the industry. So it really gave me the insight into the industry as well. So I could, some of the suspicions that I had about what is needed to make our business run better, and particularly the color business run better, I was able to sort of vet in my own salon. And then also I go out in the field and discuss it with industry people as well. So I did a lot of soft research for about 10, 15 years on this project. And then we started this about 5 years ago. So it's been a very interesting journey so far. But where we really started out is not, we started out with waste in mind. And as you'll see from this presentation, that we've kind of pivoted quite a bit. I mean, waste is still a very important part of saving money, saving the planet, what we do at one of our core missions and values at Vish. But we've also, really dug into the data and found many, many other ways for salons to not only save money, but generate more revenue. So we are profitable and more profitable, in all aspects, but particularly in this case, in our color business, which most of us know can be very lucrative, very profitable, or it can be the place that we're losing money. So what I'd like to do is just go over some of the topics from the agenda items that we're going to be focusing on today. And just kind of highlight some of the challenges or problems that we're having. So salons lose thousands of dollars every month in color wasted. So lack of detailed notes when over mixing leads salons to pour up to 40% of their hair color down the drain. So again, detailed notes, and what that means is your formula, like what did you use, how much was left. I know myself that I would fill out my formula notes either in the computer or on a piece of paper after the customer had left. So what wasn't in the top of my mind was, did I use that full bowl of color? Did I need it all? And typically what I do is I just say same as last time, which means I keep repeating that same 40-gram formula over and over when perhaps maybe only 20 grams was needed each and every time. The next is missed revenue. So salons miss 15% of their potential revenue through missed add-ons. And just to put some context to that, in my salon, I would push my hairdressers to make sure that they're charging for everything that they do. But I also had a lot of sympathy because I knew that I was one of the biggest culprits in that. And that when I was always busy hairdresser, I'm running behind schedule, it would be quite frequently that I would forget to charge for a toner or anything that got added to the service that wasn't booked originally, which accounted for a lot of missed revenue, but also a lot of inconsistent pricing for your customer. Because I forgot today in June, she's going to come back in end of July, and maybe I'll remember, in her mind, she gets the same service, but the price is just increased. She doesn't necessarily know why. The front desk person is not looking at the previous appointment to say, oh, they forgot a formula or toner last time. So it ends up becoming a very negative experience for the customer as well. And then over application or over applying of color. We see this time and time again. And with Vish, we're able to track all your analytics, and you have access to this and your dashboard, as we can see that somebody's waste numbers are low, meaning they don't have a lot of color left in their bowl. But at the end of the service, when they're coming back, and we have a feature called reweigh, which is you take your bowl at the end, you simply put it back on the scale for 2 seconds, calculates what's left of the bowl. That feature is what gets rid of the hair color waste. But we often meet with salons, and in the onboarding process at Vish, we do a 30, 60, and a 90-day review with your data. And then we'll find people who don't have much waste, but their application cost is still very high. And then we'll focus on that. And we know that these people are typically over appliers. So they're just using 2, 3, 4, 500 grams when they're doing a full head of highlights. They're using 100 grams when they're doing a root touch up. So we're able to identify those and also work with you for coaching and learning opportunities to make sure that everybody in the salon has a balance, is on the same page in terms of profitability. All right, so we can move on from that. So we have a poll that we're going to do today. So here's some things that we're going to look at. How are you tracking your color waste? Again, we've got a few options here. So we have I don't track waste. I use the bucket method. We have systems in place that are tracking waste, or some of you may be using Vish, which is already taking care of your waste for you. So I'll just wait for those poll results to come in. So again, up to 40% of hair color is wasted. So I want you to think about that in terms of other inventory items you have. So when you receive your order and you're putting away your shampoos, your conditioners, all your retail items that you've bought, you know that that's going to get sold and you're going to get a standard markup on those products. But then we'll glance over and we'll look at our professional product order and just think that 40% of that won't get used and it will be thrown in the garbage, which is just unimaginable to do that for retail. So how we work at Vish is that markup that you have for your retail, you should be getting it for your hair color, and it also should not be wasted or thrown out or given away. So just let me know how the poll is doing. I think we are. Can I see the results in the poll? Are they in?
Yeah, I think everyone had time to get their vote in. And you can, I think, Tim, you can see what the answer was there, which is not surprising.
I do not.
I don't track waste. 100%.
100% of the people on the call do not track waste. Well, so I'm taking this as an opportunity for maybe, if there's a Q&A at the end. I'm not sure if we're doing that, but if you want to ask some specific questions about Vish, or we'll give you the ability to book a demo if you would like, or to ask more questions, we'll give that opportunity to you throughout this webinar today. Okay, so what we're going to do next is we are going to go on to the next slide. Okay, so we're going to talk about the 3 most common pricing structures found in salons. So we've identified 3. And Vish is compatible and is customizable so that all 3, depending on how you want to go, and we spend some time consulting with salon owners and managers when you do the onboarding process with us. So what currently exists in the industry right now, in most salons, is all-inclusive pricing. And I know we have, basically you can use as much product you want and this is the price and we're not going to charge you more. There is an exception to that, is that salons have an extra bowl charge. But what we found is that this is also, like those add-on services, is not consistently being collected and being charged for by charge to the customer. So again, goes back to that, what is that experience like from the customer when you remember one time, but you don't the next? The problem with the all-inclusive, we can get into a little bit, and we sort of we'll compare all 3. Separate parts and labor. So this is when you would have a service menu item like balayage that you charge $150 for. So that is the service charge, and then how we separate the parts, which being the hair color, is that is billed on top for every customer. So if you use, $10 or $20 worth of color, well, it goes from being $150 for the balayage service plus the cost of goods, which is the cost of goods with the markup, which is $10, $20, $30, depending on how much color was used for that service. And then pricing with product allowances. So a lot of salons already have this, and this is where they would know, say, have an extra bowl charge. But it's very hard to monitor without a system like Vish to track this, to ensure that everybody on your team is following it, charging it when they should, not forgetting, or not using the honor system where, I have the ability to give away some of them and charge for some of them. So those are the three. And then I think if you would like, go ahead.
Yeah, Tim, sorry. I was just going to say, I mean, you've said, a little bit about the positives and negatives, but can you tell us, which one I guess you'd recommend, and then some of the pros and cons of each of them? Yeah.
Sure. I think off the bat, what I would do, if I was to open up a new salon tomorrow, then, and brand new from scratch, I would set up my service menu to be simple. I would likely do it hourly based. So, these are the services that you can get. It's one fee for the hour, or hour and a half, or 2 hours, or 3 hours. And then the customer knows what they're paying. And then I would do the product on top of that. That way we're able to, it's much clearer for the customer that if you give me a 2.5 hour time slot to do color, I can do whatever I need to do in that time. It's a flat fee, and typically we've priced that out differently in our menus because of the cost of the product. But now with the ability, it's whatever you want to charge for that hour plus the product. That way the customer gets customized pricing that's based on their hair needs. We can still work in and give them quotes, because we know on average that a 3-hour appointment would use $23 worth of hair color. So again, that would be my preference if I was open up a new salon. And why I say with a new salon is because it's not always easy to implement that from a salon that's existing, that already has a culture, that already has a pricing structure. So then I would probably go to I definitely would go to the pricing with product allowances. And what we do at Vish is we have these benchmarks, or we'll work with the allowances that you already have in your salon. And we will go through the menu and we'll say, okay, for a toner, Vish recommends you do not include any more than 20 grams worth of product at this, $35 that you charge for that service. And we'll go through your service menu and help you build that as an option B. And then what happens is, when you cross that threshold, when somebody uses more color than was allowed for the service, well, Vish has an app called the Front Desk app, which is a widget that sits on your dashboard, sits in front of shortcuts or on top of shortcuts. So when you go to check out a customer's bill, whatever was done for that service, you're no longer waiting for the hairdresser to remember to come up and update the front desk people or make the notes. It's automatically there as a digital ticket or a digital traveler, which allows you to see what was done and charge accurately, because we display the product costs or the product charges as well. Again, if we think about all-inclusive pricing, what you'll find is that your highlighting services are profitable, but when you get down the line and you start doing all over color, toners, you'll see that in most cases you're losing, or in a lot of cases you're breaking even or losing money on those services. And what Vish is able to do is ensure that every service is equally profitable. Doesn't matter what it is. So if you do more toners than you do highlights, well, that should be as profitable, which in most cases in salons right now, without a software like Vish, is not the case. And I can be very long-winded. So if you need to speed me up or move me along, just give me a nudge. Okay, so we have another poll that we're going to do. What pricing structure do you use? Are you using all-inclusive pricing? Are you separating parts from labor? And are you pricing with product allowances? So again, does your team know that they can use 2 scoops of bleach for your partial highlight? And do they know how much to charge if they use 3 scoops of bleach for a partial highlight. So we'll wait for those results to come back in.
Yep, I'll give them about a minute, I think, Tim, and then
Sure.
we'll close
Thank
it out.
you. And sorry, is there an opportunity again for Q&A, or are we gonna is that been planned? I'm sorry, I didn't.
Yeah, no, that's fine. We definitely can do some Q&A at the end.
Okay.
So anybody that wants to stick around when the presentation is through to ask Tim some specific questions about Vish or anything like that, please stick around and we'll do some Q&A at the end of the session here.
Great. And if not, if you need to leave and you don't have time to stick around for the Q&A, we'll make sure that you have contact information for us at Vish. So you're able to reach out with myself or somebody else on the team.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and close the poll here.
Great.
It looks like we've got 75% said all-inclusive pricing and 25% said pricing with product allowances.
Great. Yeah, not surprising whatsoever. Again, so if you're in that 75% that are doing all-inclusive pricing, then I want you to think about how much revenue is being lost by doing it that way. And if you're interested in knowing more, again, we can have that conversation at the end today, or we can set up a time to meet again. You know, it's not uncommon, and I'll give an example where I met with a salon owner who started with Vish. And again, a lot of these pricing structures, you don't have to implement the first day that you use Vish. We do recommend it, but in some cases, it's a cultural shift. So it may take, you know, getting them to use Vish first, then we introduce a pricing structure after, like 30, 60 days after. But it's not uncommon that, you know, I meet with salons and they're very confident that their pricing structure that they are doing, which is all inclusive with a voluntary, I've used an extra bowl of color, you know, and that structure works. One example that sticks out of my mind recently, and this is not an anomaly, this is something that we see all the time, is that the salon owner, when we compared their numbers for them continuing using their system for the first 30 days with Vish, we tracked what they should have brought in. Vish calculated, sorry, I'll go first the other way. They calculated they collected an additional $1,300 in revenue from extra bowl charges in the first 30 days. Vish captured $8,500, which should have been billed out. So it's a $7,000 difference. We immediately switched over with the salon, and they started using our pricing structure and using our front desk app or front desk widget, and then their bottom line was healthier immediately. All right, so I'm going to move on. Just give me 1 second while the slide changes. There we go. Okay, tracking color for profits. So I'm just going to kind of break down some of the things that we know, that we have just been collecting data from hundreds of salons, thousands and thousands of hairdressers. So by absorbing extra costs versus charging them, right? So, you know, that's where it comes from, right? So if there's, and it's not just extra costs, meaning extra amount of color being used, but those extra toners that are being done, or that there's an increase from your manufacturer and the price has just gone up by 5 or 7%. And I'll ask everybody here, you don't have to answer, but when was the last time your manufacturer put up your price, and when did you adjust your service menu to reflect that increase? Most cases I come across salons and they may have seen 2 or 3 pricing increases from their hair color cost, but haven't changed their service menu to recoup those losses. So we want to be able to cut your inventory costs so that your profitability, so your profits are better. It's not out of reach, and we see it all the time that salons are able to do the same volume of color that they're doing right now with 25% less inventory cost. So by really reducing that waste, by streamlining your process, and then also looking at your inventory over a long period of time with Vish and seeing how you can cut out some items that maybe you're ordering too much of or not enough of. Cost per service. So this is really interesting, and this goes back to when we were speaking earlier, when I was speaking earlier about the over application of color. So it's not only waste, and some people will be really high waste, and we'll see that early. And we're excited when we see somebody with a lot of waste, because we know that we can bring that cost per service down because we could see the waste. But it's the other that we need to pay attention to is when we can't see it because they're not much left in the bowl when they're finished because they're over applying. So we see the service, the cost per application go from sometimes $3 per application in salons all the way up to 18. And that's the average. So I'm not saying specific services like that if Jane Smith, who's an employee at my salon, did 60 services in a month, that her cost, average cost per application, is usually in that big range of $3 to 18. So we're really able to understand that information and then reduce the cost per application for the salons. So there's quite a bit of money on the table per hairdresser in profits, in new revenue, but in savings as well. And we spoke earlier about guaranteed profit on all services. So that means no longer just because you're doing more bleaching services, should that carry the pardon the pun, but the weight for all the other services that you're doing. Bleach is always the most profitable service in a salon for hair color. And then as we start getting into high lift color, toners, then the profitability starts to slip quite a bit there. Extra product charges, so they work together, the increased revenue and guaranteed profits. So if I'm a heavy-handed colorist, well, before I have the opportunity to have better education so that I reduce my application costs, well, Vish extra product charges make up that. So I want you to imagine we got two hairdressers working side by side. One person is using roughly $4 or $5 per application, doesn't have much waste, is great. The person next to him is really heavy-handed and is using $8 to $10 per application on average. Well, Vish can make sure that the profitability between those two hairdressers are the same. Because what happens is when this hairdresser who's doing $4 to $5 per application goes over, we calculate the $1 to $3 or $5 that the customer will pay when using a little bit more color. But when hairdresser B is doing her application, she's using 3 to 4 times more hair color. Well, that cost doesn't get absorbed by the salon anymore. It goes to the customer. And typically what happens then is by nature, that hairdresser will start being more conservative because they are now having to ask more money from their clients. But either way, if somebody just likes to use a lot of color, you're protected because the profitability through the extra product charges is maintained for every hairdresser, every service in your salon. So I hope I explained that well.
Tim, sorry.
Okay.
So how would or should salons track color if they don't have the right systems in place?
It's really hard to do. And I noticed people said the bucket method is very hard to do. Because even though you have the bucket method, and you hold up the bucket at the end of the week and you say, oh my gosh, look how much color we wasted. Guys, stop wasting color. You haven't put anything in place that helps them not waste color.
Yep.
Right? So unless there's a shift in that you've done something, so showing them a bucket is great. It shocks them for the first few times. But unless you're saying, here's the bucket, and here's how we're going to stop wasting so much, it's never going to change, or it's not going to dramatically change. So, unless, I've seen salons put a dispensary, the only really way to do it without software is to put somebody on the color bar.
Right.
Have a dispensary like you would in a beauty school. I mean, you just can't, you can't track it because there's such a high volume and speed to mixing that if people need something, they need it and they're off they go, because we have to be, really timed because we're, working on appointments on time schedules. So, honestly, you have to, I'm sure some people out there have great inventory systems, know who's the high user, high waste, but again, it's providing them with a simple solution so that they can manage it and do it themselves, so that they don't feel like they're being policed and they're part of the solution or part of the change that's happening in the salon. Right. And simply in this case, all they have to do is mix on, an iPad, which is what Vish is on. It's an app it's an iOS app. And then we have a Bluetooth low energy scale that syncs to our Vish app on the iPad. Seamless, easy integration. We integrate with shortcuts. All their information is pulled and provided for them from their appointment book in Vish. So again, Change is great when they make it easy. I mean, Steve Jobs always said that when he, converted people from getting free music to paying for it. He just made it easier for them. It's easier to pay for it than it is to get it for free. People will adopt that. So same thing with any other technology or any other change. So I just want to take a look at this slide quickly, and the effect of extra product charges. So this is, and just to clarify, this was our first 3 months back since COVID. So when COVID ended, we really tracked salons and their usage. So we can see the top graph, or the purple, is extra color revenue with Vish, and then below would be extra color costs without Vish. So when salons came back, they saw that they were using in the first month $6,000 more in color than what they normally would. And that's because people have gone an extra amount of time without getting their hair color done, or they've been doing it non-professionally and there's been a lot of work that needs to be done. So just to put that in perspective, you're using 3 to 4 times more color when we came back. So these numbers are high, but it still goes on every day when we do seasonal changes. When you just have new customers come in or simply new formulas, your costs go up. So we're able to turn the conversation around, and you can see by the end of the 3 months, instead of losing $12,327, we turn it around, and through our extra revenue from the product charges, this salon was able to see an additional $24,000 in hair color revenue. So that number again increases, so that, and we, that's with the standard markup. So the cost of goods on that would be around $12,000 for that.
Yeah, that's
so that
amazing.
means that there's more money for education, for recruitment, for bonuses, however you want to do it. It's just at the salon. And again, I want everybody to think about inventory this way. You buy a bottle of shampoo and conditioner, you invest your money in that through your distributor, you mark it up, you sell it. That's a revenue center for you. Hair color inventory seems to have a very different relationship, even though it comes from the same place, in the same boxes. We treat it very differently, and Vish gives you the ability to turn that into a different profit center as well. That's pretty much it for me. So I'm open to questions from anybody. But again, here is that contact information. So info@getvish.com. And our toll-free number, 1-888-419-6391. You can book a demo directly just by going into getvish.com, but you can also see we're Vish Salons on Instagram and Vish Salons on Facebook. And then if you want to get in touch with me directly, my email is not on here, but it's Timothy, TIMOTHY, @getvish.com.
Awesome. Tim, thank you so much. This has been really amazing. I know, especially right now, our salons are coming to us to ask questions like, how can they improve their systems and how can they do better? How can I save money? Because the pandemic has hit everybody pretty hard. And so I think that this couldn't come at a better time. So this is great. You guys, anybody that has questions for Tim, you can use the chat box or the questions area, and I'm happy to read them out and then have Tim give some responses if anybody who has any questions.
And then just on that, now's the time. Again, like you said, we've introduced product charges or PPE or PPP charges to salons, to our customers. Now I want everybody to think about this. When was the last time you revamped your service menu? When was the last time you thought about putting changes in your service menu and pricing? And often, we blanket and we say, okay, well, our new growth application is going up by $5. You're not solving the problem by raising your price. What you're doing is you're penalizing the people who are coming more frequently and hoping to recover the costs from people who use more product or come infrequently by that $5 add-on. But we recommend that keep your service menu where it is. Introduce product charges. They're flexible. We can adjust them when there's a price increase from the manufacturer. And you can adjust them how you want without having to go back and change your service menu. Again, by raising something by X amount, doesn't keep profitability the same across the board. You're just, you're just blanketing it a little bit more. Of course, an extra $5 is great, but remember you're paying commission on that, and remember that it's not focusing or customizing the price per customer.
So there's a couple of questions here, Tim, about is Vish an extra charge, or is there a separate charge to implement Vish? The answer is yes, you guys, it is a separate product. I'll let Tim expand on that and what the service kind of involves.
Yeah, so we are an add-on. We integrate with Shortcuts. So we're two separate companies. We work together to provide a full suite solution to salons. And our color bar application is a very clear return on investment. So as I said, we do a 30, 60, and a 90-day review. We do some goal setting with you in the beginning. We determine how many Vish units you need. If you've got 1, 2, or 3, or 4 scales in your salon, we'll figure out what the right number is, and we'll pair that with our hardware. And then you should see a 10 to 20 times return on your investment. So what that means is your monthly subscription, we would have to determine it based on the size of your business or how many Vish units you would need. But expect that, if you're paying $150 a month for Vish, that you should see anywhere from $1,500 to $3,000 a month return to your bottom line through additional revenue and cost savings. So it's something that, and years ago I had a piece of software that integrated with my salon software that showed me how much money this company brought in for my salon, and it gave this little this $10,000, $20,000 a month that it was saying. That was just anytime somebody booked, they would take credit for that. But we're much different. We can clearly show you the additional revenue and the savings that you are seeing. Some of the intangibles that we can't show you is how much time you're saving and how much less labor you're paying, because our system works with the Shortcuts inventory system, so that we do account for you while you're mixing color. So we're constantly counting your inventory while you're mixing color and give you an updated amount that can go into Shortcuts when you're doing a purchase order. Your hairdressers are no longer having to run back and forth to the front desk, get formulas, take the formula, put it down, or hopefully they even have a formula that was recorded in the past. We set all the pricing, we automate all of that. So it's a massive amount of time spent in labor costs, or saved in labor costs. There was another question as well.
Yeah, Tim, can you tell us, does each staff member have the ability to have the app on their phone? Is it just managed at the front desk? Can you give us a little
That's a great question. So the different stakeholders in the salon, so the salon managers, they have pretty much view access to all 3 parts of our app. So sorry, of our software. First part that we use is the color bar app, which sits on an iPad. So it's not on their phones. It is on an iPad, a stationary iPad at the color bar as a mixing station. Then we have the front desk piece, which is a widget that sends the information from the color bar to the front desk so that they're able to charge accordingly and appropriately. And then the third piece is the dashboard, which is where all the data and management of your Vish system is. So that will give you all the analytics that you need, all your reporting, but also inventory management, that type of stuff and setup is all done there. But a little sneak peek is that we will have an individual colorist app, so your colorists can have Vish on their phones, so that they're able to do more from their phone, like get their formulas ready, look at the customer formulas, get the pricing set up, eventually do consultations, which will be based off of here's what you're actually going to pay today. So a lot of improvements, a lot of innovation coming to the Vish app in the coming few months.
Awesome. All right, I think that's it.
All right, great. Well, thank you for the opportunity. We really love working with Shortcuts, and we've got quite a few salons now that are using Shortcuts Vish integrations. So if you're interested, would like to learn more, please get in contact with us with the information provided below. And we look forward to working with you. One of the things we pride ourselves at Vish is that throughout the onboarding process, we're with you every step of the way. Your support is there, and we really ensure that we are available and assist you in implementing change into your salon. That change is not, that change is there as just an improvement of your salon's business to our planet and to the industry as a whole.
Awesome, Tim. Thank you so much. And thanks everyone for joining
Pleasure.
us today.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.